Wednesday night, you know what that means. It means you are tuned in across any and all platforms to the Wrestling Inc. channel for what's all to be some very entertaining Wednesday night chatter amongst the three of us and amongst our wonderful audience of all things going on in the world of pro wrestling, mainly in AEW. Hello, boys and girls. I am Justin LaBar coming to you here tonight on Wrestling Inc. Whether you're watching us YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Periscope, listen to us after the fact. It's all good. It's all gravy. I'm here in Pittsburgh. North of the border is former WWE sports entertainment referee of 20 years, Jimmy Korderas, and down south in beautiful Puerto Rico is our demon diva, Issa. Issa, how are you tonight?
I'm great.
Nice scarf.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I've been wearing it for weeks. It was about time it meant something.
Jimmy, our second podcast of the week together. Always a joy. How have you been the last 48 hours since I spoke to you?
No, I've been doing good. Things are great up here north of the border. And you know what? Hey, let's get to it. Interesting night, that's for sure. And some interesting topics to talk about.
Absolutely. So I'll start with this because I thought Dewey Foley, who's Mick Foley's son and who was a former WWE NXT writer, Dewey had a very fun tweet earlier today. He tweeted, imagine the wrestling fans who just watched All Out, saw the end of it, went to bed, and aren't on social media, and they tune into Dynamite tonight and they went, "What the hell?" So just to set the table for anybody who might be in that situation, in case you missed it. CM Punk, of course, wins. There's no, he beats Jon Moxley. He is the undisputed AEW World Champion. That's how that's actually how All Out goes off the air. Also with MJF returning and staring him down. So that appears to be what we have coming up next. And then AEW does they do live press conferences after the fact. They have all the talent one by one answering questions from the wrestling media. And CM Punk went on it puts his pipe bomb to shame. His famous one from 2011. He just goes on a firing spree about everything almost but the storyline of what he's working in. He's shooting on Colt Cabana. And of course, their lawsuit. Colt Cabana has once upon a time had a bank account with his mom. That's apparently pertinent information in the tirade. He shoots on the executive vice presidents, the Bucks and Kenny Omega, claims they couldn't manage a target. Big diss to those of you out there in the target world. Takes more aim at Hangman Adam Page. All while his boss is sitting there next to him, kind of just letting it happen. And then we would find out after the fact that happens. And then Punk goes back to his locker room. And those EVPs that can't manage a target, well, they managed to get into his locker room. And they apparently came back barreling in. And then after that, who knows who did what first. But what we do know is that a melee took place that went on for several minutes. Chairs thrown, bite marks happening. And to the point of that we know that Tony Khan has at least took some action up to this point. We know that there's been some suspensions that have happened. So not firings, but at least we know suspensions at the moment between make sure I have everybody. Suspensions for the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Christopher Daniels, Pat Buck, Brandon Cutler, Michael Nakazawa. So they're all to some degree on the sidelines for the moment. Still unclear exactly what the status is of CM Punk and Ace Steel. I mean, obviously Punk is no longer champion, as we'll get to in a second in the show, but also part of the news is that Punk apparently injured, not 100%. So even aside from discipline, probably couldn't have continued on anyways as champion. Issa, I haven't got to talk to you about this. So where we're at the moment, no, one last wrinkle too, also coming. This is being reported. Let's see, give them the right credit here to. It's basically believed that several people, I guess, are kind of Meltzer was the first who said this, that Mega, and I'm not going to pronounce her last name, but she's AEW's chief legal officer. She is the second highest ranking authority figure behind Tony Khan, who's there at AEW. That apparently she was somewhere in sight or in setting of this locker room brawl that took place. So that brings a whole other legal aspect to things. Issa, unravel all of this for us.
I don't even know what you want me to say. It's a mess. It's a mess. I personally, first of all, I'm mad. I was supposed to be at All Out, and I missed it due to circumstances. And I remember telling Lucha Libre Online, what am I going to miss? A lame a press scrum after All Out. No, apparently I missed the one press scrum, right? But I'm not saying, I don't know. Nobody will ever know the full story here. Whether CM Punk had a point or not, the way that he made it known, to me, my personal opinion, was completely unprofessional and unnecessary. And I am not surprised that there was some retribution afterwards of people being mad. And if you see your boss sitting there just taking it and not doing anything, what makes you think that people are not going to stop from having a backstage brawl here? Of course they are. Like the one person that looked the worst outside of the company overall was Tony Khan here. So I'm not surprised that it turned into what it turned into. I have mixed feelings because I like the way that tonight was done, and I know we're getting to that, like video package. Let's not even mention why these titles are vacated. And let's just, because they do have to understand that not everybody's in this social media bubble. So why bring in that drama to people that might not know about it? But at the same time, there has been reports that there's some retribution or some, I guess, disciplinary action taken against the Elite. I really want to know. There was another side to this brawl, so I want to know what's going on there. And with the CM Punk injury, are we going to try to hide it through it? Because none of this would have happened if it wasn't for those comments. And there's a part of me that feels like, hey, as executive vice presidents, you probably should have been the bigger man here. But at the same time, the Puerto Rican side of me would have probably super kicked that door down too. So I'm 50-50 on this.
Well, that's where part of me wonders that if the chief, if the top legal officer was there, did the EVP say you need to come with us? Did they want to have a witness? Did they want to have, if Tony Khan, as far as we can tell the timeline, Tony Khan's still in doing the press conference. So if they can't get him, do they get the second highest ranking person from the office and say, come with us? Not with the intention necessarily of fighting the guy, but having a verbal confrontation, and then it turns obviously physical. Jimmy, if none of the fighting happens, if none of the actual physical fighting happens, if Punk just says what he says in his tirade, and that's the end of the night, do you think he's still subject to some kind of discipline?
Well, he should be, because he, again, this isn't a situation where you just took, devastating shots at your superiors, whether you like them or not, whether you're on board with them or not, whether you're buddies or not. It's not the point here. The point is you have your boss sitting beside you and you are taking shots at everybody from Colt Cabana, which, kind of threw me off a little bit. You're taking shots at the EVPs and that sort of thing. And again, the biggest thing that was said tonight by both of you is it was very unprofessional. And this isn't the first time that this has come from CM Punk. And I'm not saying that he has a long history of doing this, but there are times when he gets upset and he lets his emotions take the better of him. And this was definitely one of those situations where he was going to let it out regardless, it felt like. Yeah. Whether he was asked the question or not, he was just looking for an opportunity.
Punk was never asked about Colt Cabana. Sorry to interrupt you, Jimmy, but he was never asked. He came into that press scrum wanting to start a fight because there was no question asked in regards to this whole Colt Cabana thing.
Right.
And that's the part that, again, I will go on and say it, unprofessional. Whether you have a point or not, the way that you went about it was extremely unprofessional.
No, absolutely. And then, like you said, Justin, having the second in command, so to speak, but also the legal representative there, man, you're opening a can of worms that could be potentially detrimental. And Justin, you and I were talking a little bit before the show. None of this is making them any money, at least not right now. I know there are people out there who are conspiracy theorists and saying this is some big elaborate work and they're working everybody, the internet and everybody. No. Trust me, it's not.
Well, and people think it's so easy. Well, first off, the more people you have, it's one thing when it's just two people. It's one thing when it's Brett and Sean, and you have two people to mediate. And oh, by the way, one of them ended up leaving the company, or it's one thing when it's Brett and Sean. It's one thing when it's Matt Hardy and Edge. This now has multiple people, but the problem is it's multiple people on one side and one man on an island on the other side. Mm-hmm. And so when fans think, oh, this just turn it into, get them all just to make some money together and turn it into storyline. It's like, well, first off, it's a very weird dynamic It's not just a one-on-one. But even more importantly, like if you're a fan who thinks that, I ask you, I counter you to think this. Try sitting these guys down in the room, and they obviously have a problem. And you say, okay, guys, everybody's in on this now. Let's try to like fool them. Let's try to like make money. It's all just shake hands. Okay, well, it's a wrestling. Somebody's got to still lose. Somebody has to go out there and swallow pride and lose. And it's like it's so much more difficult just to have guys all of a sudden just take it and run with it and make it a work. So I wouldn't hold your breath if that's what you're waiting as a fan to see right now. I guess let's talk a little bit more about CM Punk, because it's gonna segue everything into the start of the show and comments from Tony Khan. So CM Punk. So it's like, all right, let's look at the timeline here. He comes back a year ago, what have you, but then we look at here. He beats John Moxley, he gets the title, gets the world title, injured. So then we have to have an interim. So then we get Mox as an interim. Then he takes on Moxley. Moxley beats him in a matter of like just in the squash. We all wonder why they give this away. Then they fight again here at All Out. Punk wins it, and then 2 days later he has to vacate it again. It's like at this point I must wonder, are you better off any which way just letting Punk go and just putting some space between this? And if you let him go now, it doesn't mean you can't bring him back if eventually cooler hits can prevail and what have you. But it's like it feels like it's such a start and stop presentation to the audience that it's there's just no consistency. At this point, I must just wonder, Jimmy, is it just better just to like maybe we just need to like let's let everybody try to miss each other. Let's let Punk try to miss AEW a little bit. Let's try to let AEW miss Punk a little bit. Let's just calm down and because I don't know,
Right. No, I get exactly what you're saying. This is the perfect opportunity, I think, for them to make some space, create some space between them, and everybody just, let sleeping dogs lie for now. Well, not sleeping dogs, but you know what I'm trying to say. Just hey, you go to your safe haven. We'll continue to do our business, and maybe in the future, if things work out, we can possibly do business again and do it in a way where we can capitalize on this horrible situation that happened and turn it into a money-making venture. But I don't know if that can happen. I think maybe it would be best for them to part ways, at least for the time being now.
Issa, have we seen the last AEW appearance of CM Punk?
I don't know. I feel like there's so much going on. I feel like if there was a way that you could get him to make it right with the rest of the locker room, because it has been reported that there's a clear division in the locker room now. And depending on how serious this injury actually is, because you go all in on the guy and he gets injured twice, it also makes you wonder how much are you willing to go all in on him in the future. However, if this is the last of CM Punk, it's like the saddest comeback story ever. He should have just stayed away from wrestling. Honestly, this isn't what we were all expecting a year ago when we saw him come back and cut the most baby faces of promos there is. And now this is what it turns into. It's a tragedy, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, think of that time. I mean, you're right. I mean, here's a guy who, obviously, he even said in his tirade, he's old, he's hurt. I mean, the guy's going to be 44 next month. So he's not young. Yeah, you're right. Talk about the timeline, the comeback story. Has his last match in WWE at the Rumble here in Pittsburgh in 2014. Has the crazy drama the next night in Cleveland behind the scenes in Raw. Walks out. We never see him again in wrestling for the next 7 or 8 years, and then we think that we're finally going to get him to get to like have his closure, finish his career on his terms at this new startup that's this alternative to WWE and lead this new bunch of talent. And if this is the end of the line, this exit might have ended uglier than the WWE exit. Yeah. I mean, we heard about words in Cleveland and behind closed doors with Vince and Triple H that probably weren't pleasant, and that's not the first person to have that situation. But this is him swinging and chairs flying and people biting and dogs barking, fighting each other in the locker room. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, this is. I've been witness to a few altercations in the past, but I've never heard anything to this extent. Well, I haven't witnessed, at least, anyways. And the one thing people got to remember too, that nobody is above the business or above the company you work for. You are a part of a group of people who are there for one reason or well, not just one reason. You're there, you are there to make money, but you're also there because you like what you do. You love what you do. There is a passion there, and you can see it from the guys that there is a passion there. But at the same time, you got to sometimes put your ego aside and do business, because that's what it is, the wrestling business. It's not my wrestling business. It's our wrestling business. It's all of us putting on a show together.
Yeah, and we'll get more on the mention or lack thereof mention of all the parties that we just discussed in the opening of Dynamite. But real quick, one other piece of news involving AEW and personnel and departure. Fightful Select reporting that it appears that Malakai Black is done with All Elite Wrestling, at least for now. It's believed that Black had in the tail end of the summer had been requesting his release. AEW was saying no to that. He's still wanted to be released, still unhappy with how things have with his, I guess, his situation. I think there's also been some talk about unhappy with that situation, affecting his mental health. And so Fightful Select's saying it's believed that Black is gone. He's been cut loose from his obligations to All Elite Wrestling. However, the release does come with some conditions. It basically kind of sounds like, okay, we'll let you out, but we will kind of impose some kind of non-compete, which is something that's very common, obviously, on the WWE side of things that we see all the time. We don't know if that's in fact what the condition is, but by the way it's being reported, it's kind of believed that there's conditions of you're not just going to go show up somewhere else tomorrow, that you're going to sit out for some period of time. Issa, this is an interesting one, not only because of the time right now and the what it looks like to all of us as third parties outside and what the chaos that's going on in the locker room, but also because Black was one of the big names to come over, who was a success in NXT, who got weird treatment on the main roster from Vince. It seemed like one of the big names that was going to go get career retribution over in AEW. And so for him to be voluntarily saying this grass is not as green as I thought it was, that's an interesting take.
Yeah, I mean, Malakai Black's debut was absolutely incredible. You put him in that feud with Cody at that time, and he just looked like a star. You let him go over Cody, and then after that, honestly, after the feud with Cody, I can't remember anything of any significance that he has done. And he just, I guess he started so high that where do you go from there? They don't put him in the title picture, right? But I can't blame him for being upset when you change the entire presentation, everything that you do around Malakai Black. I personally didn't like him in a stable because that's what you do with everybody that joins AEW. But once I saw who was joining the House of Black, I was willing to give it a chance. And then just seeing that they weren't even in the talks of becoming the first trios champion, I personally can't blame Malakai Black. I just hope that he's okay, that he's gonna be okay, and that he finds whatever mental peace he needs as of at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of speculation about why he asked for this release, so I am glad that they were able to grant it based on those conditions.
Jimmy, we don't know the timeline, but boy, Aleister Black could be a hell of a foil for Judgment Day.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? Especially, coming in and siding with the Rated R superstar. No, that's right. I got the wrong guy.
No, he could be if he could be a dark opposition to Judgment Day, he could be alongside Edge, help. Or he could be part of Judgment. I'm just saying, he's just what's a hot act in Raw. It looks like he could fit in that window.
Or maybe he comes back and you never know. I mean, there's also speculation about another possibly returning superstar to WWE who has that dark side character, who's very creative and inventive in Bray Wyatt. And maybe there's a new Wyatt family that includes that has a black side to it. Lots
of fantasy booking can be done.
Yes,
all right,
exactly.
It needs to be done. We got super chats coming at us. Sheed Black $1.99 says, y'all about to make some money tonight. Yeah, we got some to go to here. So we even have some. This one I believe actually was sent in before we even started recording. So Zach Anderson, $10. Zach. He said, so this episode reminded me of Flava in Your Ear. MJF and Mox are Biggie, Tony Khan is Puff Daddy, and the Elite and Punk are Rampage. It's okay without them.
Okay.
Yep, agreed.
Sure.
Corey Pride says, good point, Justin. Tony Khan plays to smart marks only.
Well, it does feel like the show is geared towards them sometimes.
Yeah.
More than anything. And
it's funny. Punk even says, and Corey had another comment here. He says, I will still watch for MJF. Not happy about Punk. If you go back to that press conference, Punk even at one point says something about, I think it was when he was ripping on the EVPs. He said, and he's accusing them of leaking stuff to the dirt sheets. Punk then even says, because they just want to do stuff for their niche wrestling audience. And I'm like, you're saying that you're kind of demeaning, you're demeaning the company that you're representing. If you're claiming that the audience is just a niche internet audience, that's not how you're supposed to, that's not how you want to have the public perceiving the company. I don't know. That comment, nobody's talking about that comment. That was one little thing that kind of stuck out to me that I caught. We could do probably like a 2-hour analysis line by line of the things that he said.
No kidding.
We could Freud it up. Antonio Garcia, it's simple. In order to have a successful sports or entertainment promotion, you have to make it clear no one's above the brand and everyone is replaceable. Antonio, I agree 110%.
Yep.
Nobody is bigger than the 3 letters of the brand. That is, and that goes back to, again, and I'm not going to fault him in the moment, because certainly none of us expected Punk to do what he did. So certainly Tony Khan didn't. It's a sucky situation that Tony's stuck there again in the frame, just letting it happen. So it's like, okay, if you didn't do anything in the moment because you're kind of blindsided, you're a new, younger promoter, you have to take action now. You have to make an example. Now,
right.
Otherwise, the reputation is that you just are, you're just not the boss.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So that's why I think it's inevitable that Punk probably has to. I think maybe one of the reasons why it hasn't come out yet that Punk has been released is, again, if there was legal witness there, if there was actual, from what we're hearing, the physical activity, there might be some legal ramifications. And so it might be a case of like, they're being very careful about the protocol and order of what they do in the timeline of releasing him. I think that's probably why we didn't hear his name spoken very particularly, which again we'll talk more about here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of legal balls at risk here that is causing Tony Khan to do things a certain way.
Again, and not doing it before the show, so that overtakes everything and people kind of forget everything else.
I mean, let's not forget, everybody. Punk leaves WWE, and there's a lawsuit that follows, in the following years with he and the ringside position. I mean, so it's like, Tony has to be aware. He's got to have the legal advisement of like, we know this guy is not afraid of being in a legal battle in the courtroom. Right. We don't want to go there.
No.
Right.
So lots of angles to look at. Okay, here we go. Sega Genesis. Scenario 1. CM Punk knew he messed up his arm bad on the dive in the match versus Moxley, and he was embarrassed knowing he'd missed extended time again. He entered the scrum, took it out on everyone else, and deflected from the arm.
Oh, interesting thought.
I mean, Sega has a good point.
He does have a good point, but at the same time, he could have found a better way to do it instead of how he did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could buy into he knew when he walked in the press conference, like, yeah, I probably got to talk to the boss after this press conference. I'm probably going to be out again for a little bit. Maybe that anger in him and frustration in him did help boil over to the rant that we got, but I don't think that it was as calculated as, oh, I'm embarrassed, so let me quickly find a way to ultimately draw a fight to happen so I can be taken off. But I mean, I will buy a little bit too. He knew that he was injured. He knew that he just won the world title and that he probably wasn't going to be defending it for a while. I could buy into him being frustrated, and somewhere in that manifested some of the explosion that he had of the promo that he cut. I will, Kyrian George. Fans giving CM Punk the Hulk Hogan treatment doesn't sit right with me. Well, I mean, I don't know necessarily what you're trying to define as Hulk Hogan treatment, but I mean, I will say this: like, I mean, Hulk does have the reputation, aside from making a lot of money, he has the reputation of, he was kind of a standalone guy in some respects in the locker room. I mean, again, how can you argue that Punk has not created that aura around him? It seems, but I don't know. I mean, Jimmy, you shared a locker room with Hulk. I mean, any Hulk Hogan experiences?
No, none really. I mean, like he was very, cool. Obviously, there were, he had his own little space, but that was because the boys respected him and gave him that space. It's kind of like later on, someone like Undertaker. Undertaker would change with the boys, but the boys would give Taker that Taker area. You know what I mean? That's the dead man space and stuff like that. So, and I don't know if Punk was looking for the same sort of thing or not, but I didn't have personal issues with CM Punk because obviously I wasn't, I guess, viewed as a threat of any kind.
You weren't going to take a spot.
Yeah, exactly. So I got along fine with him when I did speak to him, but hey, everybody has their own experiences with different people.
Yeah. All right, we got more to go here. Let's Andrew says Tony Khan should move Punk to Ring of Honor and bring back Scott Colton to AEW.
Oh boy.
Yeah, probably not, Andrew. I will say, I think eyes are more focused than ever on when does Colt Cabana resurface on a Ring of Honor match or an AEW match at this point.
Right.
Like he seems to be much more liked in the locker room than CM Punk, and I got to feel like right now there's a kind of a feeling of this poor guy just got verbally lashed for it couldn't defend himself
for no reason. Nobody brought him up but Punk.
Right.
Yeah. So poor guys who probably sitting somewhere and probably wasn't even watching this press conference, probably was doing whatever, and his Twitter probably started blowing up.
Exactly.
So we'll see. Let's see here. So you guys have so many. Sega, again, this is who CM Punk is. He's the highest paid champion, Khan's favorite, has tons of stroke, but will forgo all of that to wage war over a petty issue that didn't really affect him that much, despite what the Elite did. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's still kind of, again, he's so again, one of the things with EVPs, he's claiming and ranting about like that they were leaking stuff. I think he was claiming that they're leaking stuff to the media about that the Punk's the reason that Colt's not on TV and all the stuff. And so far, Sean Ross Sapp and Meltzer, a lot of the media are all coming out saying it wasn't them. They're not the sources that we've been in contact with. So that's a very interesting twist too. Is having normally in wrestling media, you obviously don't acknowledge or deny who your sources are. They remain anonymous. It's just how kind of wrestling media is. So to have these prominent wrestling reporters come out and unequivocally say, no, that wasn't the source.
Right. No. Yeah. And you know what? That it's good that they stay anonymous because I don't want to know who the alleged source is. Yeah.
But that's just Tony Starks. Random. Does Brandon Cutler have footage of the brawl? I don't know if I'll be going to Arthur Ashe in a couple weeks since I'm a big Elite and Punk fan. First off, the Cutler thing, that is kind of funny. Like, I mean, because they are always filming for so I don't think, even if they do, I don't think that video is only going to be seen maybe in a courtroom.
Yes.
But that's right. You have the Arthur Ashe Stadium here in two weeks from today, and based upon, again, we will get to Dynamite here in a minute. Based upon what happened at Dynamite, it doesn't look like you should be expecting to see the Elite or Punk in 2 weeks from now. So that is a potential harm of ticket sales, or tickets that have been sold, and do they get put back out on the market? I don't know.
I will say all of these AEW backstage vlogs probably got the most views they ever gotten, and they all just clickbaited the crap out of us. Sammy Guevara, being the Elite, all of them talked about this, and then you went and watched the video, and there was nothing even featured about this. Hey, let them get those YouTube views. Why not?
Tremendous.
But I will say I watch BTE every week, and I don't think I've ever looked forward to an episode like I did this week. So it worked for them.
Yeah.
Well, and to this point about the footage of the brawl, I know it's kind of like probably a joke here by Tony, but I tweeted this before Dynamite. Like, certainly there's a lot of buzz about AEW this week, but I did tweet, and I was just trying to like kind of bring people back to reality. I wasn't trying to be a buzzkill, but I was like, I saw people like claiming, oh, this is gonna be the biggest Dynamite ever. It's guaranteed above 1 million viewers, and I'm like, look, all the drama that everybody's talking, and nobody's talking about MJF.
Right.
All the drama that everybody's talking about, none of those parties involved in that are going to be on tonight. So if you think that you're going to see like footage that's going to pop up from back, like that's not happening. Like, so that's why it's kind of like, don't go into tonight's Dynamite thinking that you're going to like the Dynamite's going to start and Punk and the Bucks are going to be brawling out the tunnel. Like that's not happening right now. So
no, it's hard to imagine what people were expecting. Obviously, people were expecting some kind of announcement of some sort. I do love the fact that they didn't reference exactly what happened and didn't go into detail about it and kind of just left it. They just went about their business, so to speak, and that I do applaud them for.
Well, some people like that, some people didn't. Another super chat here, David. I blame Snoop. He gave AEW the death row vibes.
Oh, that's a great super chat.
that might be the best one of the night. I think we'll do one more, and then we'll get into the start of the show here.
Sure.
Sega again. Did we already do this one?
We already read that one.
We already, all right, Sega. We already got that one. All right. We'll get some of the other ones here as we come across the appropriate time.
Right.
All right. So we start off Dynamite. They show the video package. If you missed All Out, they show MJF basically returning it All Out. It is interesting, clearly, and this is the first thing we see, and we're all wondering how's tonight going to go. They clearly make no visual even mention of CM Punk. They just show MJF coming out, talking that that's his belt. We don't even see CM Punk. We don't even see CM Punk in the opening Dynamite intro video. We then go to what is obviously a pre-recorded backstage announcement from Tony Khan, where he addresses that both the trios title, which of course was held by the Bucks and Kenny, and the AEW World title held by Punk, that both these titles are going to be vacated, and we are now on a quest to crown new champions. The trios championship will be crowned tonight, and a match between Death Triangle and the versus Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. And then he announces for the world title a tournament that's going to start tonight, a Grand Slam tournament that's going to start tonight. The wild card round being Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson. The winner of that goes on to face Jericho in the semifinals. The other wild card is Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin. The winner of that goes on to face Moxley in the semifinals. And then the finals would be happening 2 weeks from tonight, September 21st at Arthur Ashe Stadium at the big Grand Slam show. So once again, having to claim and crown a new world champion.
Why did Jericho get a bye, but Hangman didn't? Hangman has been a more recent champ than Jericho.
I don't know.
Because Jericho did win some pay-per-views, which Hangman hasn't in a while. I guess that's my best guess here, but it was weird who ended up getting the bye onto the next round of the tournament. If we're going to base it on former world champs, I feel like Hangman should have been allowed to move on without having to qualify.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably have a lot of debates over who should have been, who gets the bye or what have you. That's something else. I mean, it's a fair question. I guess that's something else to keep in mind here that I was thinking about is that, this all transpired over the weekend as Tony Khan is having to deal with this, having to play principle and figure out what he's doing here, discipline, fire, whatever. The guy still has a show that he has to write, and by the way, rewrite now. So I think kind of part of this is like a tournament's kind of a smart idea because a tournament can help just kind of fill time just with match, and that's the storyline is a tournament. And so I think he probably was just looking at, okay, what are matches that have stories? Obviously, Page and Danielson, that has a story, versus putting Jericho in that first match against Danielson when we just saw that on the so I think that's probably just a matter of
to give him credit for something that might have just been put together today. I love these brackets compared to the last time that Punk had to relinquish and we had that weird battle royal between people that didn't even deserve to be in the battle royal just to go face on Moxley. Here I feel like a lot of people could become number one contender, based out of the names, the name value of this tournament. So I will give them that. It was just weird to see the two former world champs get the bye, and then Hangman had to battle out on the first round where he is also a former world champ. And I know that a lot of people want to involve Hangman in all the drama that we spoke about. However, it's been confirmed by multiple sources. Hangman was out of the building before any of this went down. And if you think about it, Hangman went into business for himself, according to Punk, and Punk got his receipt back when he called him out on that live promo. So if we're talking old school wrestling, that should have been the end of that. It wasn't, but that should have been the end of that. However, Hangman had nothing to do with anything that transpired this weekend.
Right.
No. Very fair point.
Yeah. So, a Grand Slam tournament. Which, I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, I think we kind of figured they go the tournament route. They often do that. But yeah, I mean, just having to completely rewrite the next few weeks of TV, not just for the world title, but for the trios title as well.
Yep.
As we'll get to here in a second. Okay. Drew Anderson, $9.99. Subscribe to the WWE Network. Drew Anderson, Justin and Issa's personal dislike of Punk makes them overlook that Punk was right. Paige and the EVPs caused all of the drama with rumors spreading in the first place. They were mad because he called them out. Garbage take, in my opinion.
It's not a garbage take.
No.
There's a way and a place and a time to do this. And I never said that Punk didn't have a point. He might have had a point. It was the way that he went on about it that I personally didn't like. I being a very fair supporter of CM Punk, I didn't get to watch CM Punk's 2011 run. The one that everybody talks about, I didn't get to watch that. I was busy going to college. Priorities, right? So with seeing him come back to WWE, I'm sorry, to AEW, I was very excited for this run, and to say that it's been less than, I haven't been impressed by it, I will tell you that much. Every pay-per-view that CM Punk has been a part of, his match is not the match that I'm talking about at the end of the night. It's just, it's not.
Right.
Look at all the pay-per-views that he's been a part of. He hasn't been it when it comes to match of the night. I think he was unprofessional, and I personally think that the Elite going and possibly super kicking his door down and having a throwdown is also unprofessional. I think this was a lose-lose situation for everyone involved.
Yeah, I mean, Drew, or Jimmy, anything you want to say to this before I answer Drew here?
No, I totally agree. Yes, everybody's pointing their fingers at CM Punk like he's the lone culprit in this whole thing, but everybody involved in this, he called out the EVPs. And yes, you guys are executive vice presidents. You need to act like it. Unfortunately, yes, you're part of the roster as well as being part of the office. And that's one of the challenges of when you're part of both office and you're one of the boys, that you have to be the bigger person at times. And you can't let these things turn into a melee like it did on Sunday night.
Yeah. Look, bottom line, nobody in this situation, no party, Hangman Page and Colt Cabana, I feel bad for. Hangman Page has been getting shot on, and Colt Cabana, the guy wasn't even there. But everybody else, the EVPs and Punk, they're all at fault. Tony Khan's at fault. They're all at fault. Tony looks terrible sitting there. I still think he should have turned to the sound guy and said, mute his mic. Said, okay, no more questions for CM Punk. We got more talent to bring in. But everybody looks bad in one way or the other. Nobody looks professional. Nobody looks competent. Nobody's making money off of it. But Drew, you're entitled to your opinion, and it's not a personal dislike. Is CM Punk my favorite person? No, but I also was as excited as anybody last year to see this return and see the energy behind the worst kept secret, which was his return. So it's not like I'm sitting here. Whatever. Whatever. I'm not gonna.
It's not a personal dislike. The whole thing was just it was tasteless on everybody's end. Like just seeing CM Punk handle that press scrum like that in a question that wasn't even asked. And maybe you want to get your story out there in regards to Colt Cabana. That's fine. But then he went on and on. He didn't let out. And then after that, hearing what went on afterwards, I personally think it was just unprofessional on all parties involved. I'm not just saying Punk. I'm saying the Elite as well. You guys are EVPs of this company. And maybe that wasn't the right way to handle it. I mean, there's just, and we're never going to hear the right story here. There's CM Punk side, the Elite side, and then there's the truth, which we might never get. So ultimately, this is a personal thing. It was just as somebody that has worked corporate for a very, very long time, I didn't like the way this was handled at all.
Oh, I can't wait for Dark Side of the Ring to get a hold of this one day. But Drew, here's the thing too. If again, the EVPs did not act appropriate from all that we can tell. However, I actually think of this: if they were upset, if they were, kind of going around going, this Punk guy, like. Here's these guys in Omega and the Bucks who from the ground up took a big gamble to then partner with a billionaire first time ever promoter, Tony Khan, super fan who got a real passion, has got the pockets for it, but has never done this. They decided to partner with him and Cody Rhodes and to launch this thing from scratch, knowing full well that they could be dead in the water within a matter of months. You know, all the risks they took, all the time and effort they put into it, not just the time and effort in the office, but all the time and effort they put out in the ring. And then you have a guy come in making more than anybody else, who's supposed to take you to the next level, who's supposed to move the needle publicly, and who's supposed to bring this young locker room of men and women along and teach them. You know, a guy who's worked WrestleManias against The Undertaker, has worked John Cena, has been on the biggest stage in wrestling history, and he's supposed to be a guy that's going to help elevate and take the company to the next level to be a viable competitor to WWE. So if you're the EVPs, you have this guy come in, and he's supposed to be doing all this, but then within a matter of year, has caused a friction, has caused a you're either with me or you're against me kind of mentality. And that's not me just going off of hoobaloo on the internet. That's me going off of what people there have conveyed. And oh, by the way, it's not the first time this guy has done it. He did it at his previous employer. Okay, at some point you have to start to find trends. And so if you're an EVP that built some of this from the ground up, and you're still in your young up and saying, oh, by the way, you're starting to feel pressure. Your competition in WWE's catching momentum, and there's other morale rumors out there going on. And this, and then so you're already feeling that. Okay, you're feeling that. Maybe you just keep it to yourself. Maybe keep it in your inner circle, and you're like, all right, you know, maybe after we get through this big show, maybe after Arthur Ashe, maybe we need to like see if we can sit down with Punk, sit down with Tony, and try to like get on the same page. But before you can even do that, the guy grabs a live mic at a press conference and just starts to just air everything out, all the dirty laundry. Like if you're an EVP, I'm not saying they were right, but Drew, what I'm saying is from their perspective, this guy decided to make it public, and he's accusing them of making it public by leaking it. And so far, anybody in the wrestling media is coming out saying it wasn't them that leaked it. So there's just, again, nobody's right in this, but
yeah, and ultimately, the whole aspect of this, like whether you want to make it personal or not, maybe he needed to tell his story about Colt Cabana, right? Maybe, but he did say that he had gotten his receipt against Hangman. But if you go back and watch the promos that Eddie Kingston cut on him, MJF mentioned Colt Cabana by name on one of his promos during their feud. Hangman didn't even do that. So at this point, it almost feels like, do you have a personal vendetta against Hangman here? Because everybody has brought up the exact same issues. Nobody in the locker room likes you. This has been something that has been brought up. And maybe CM Punk is fed up with that being brought up. But, I mean, it creates good feuds. So you need to figure out which way do you want to go. Do you not want anybody to bring that up and we just wrestle? Or do you want the story to feel more real? There's a lot of aspects here that needs to be discussed. This isn't a personal thing. I personally wanted to see the CM Punk run be a success. I'm a wrestling content creator. The better that wrestling does, the better than I do. So I never want any wrestling company to fail or to be having this drama. I want them to do well and to have all of the audience, because that's better for all of us ultimately.
Gregory, great question. I wonder what Warner Brothers Discovery thinks of all of this, especially with the TV negotiations coming up.
Yeah,
they said bring back MJF. That's what they said.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that's a very good point, Gregory, because that's, as of right now, that's where the money is, not pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is still a place where you can make money, but right now the big money is in television contracts, and Warner Brothers is a big-time television company. So there are people you don't want to get questioning whether they should continue, I'm not talking about whether they're going to take them off the air or anything like that, expand their business with them. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking to expand their business, especially now that they have ROH and that sort of stuff. So they are shopping their product around. So, you know, you don't want to rub them the wrong way.
Well, you also don't want your corporate TV distributors to be like worried about like, oh my God, like you guys are having fights in the backstage and we have legal charges coming. You know, somebody got hit with a chair, somebody got bit. You know, that's just a PR nightmare. So I mean, you know, again, I'm not thinking like you said, Jimmy. I don't think they're going to take it off the air, but it's just, you know, perception is reality, and what your value is, and how much of a pain in the ass you are to deal with. Danny says, with all the controversy going on today, doesn't it make you wish for the simpler times of only Vince's scandal?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, just when I think we get on these podcasts and I think, oh, this is gonna be the craziest news story we have all year, we just continue to get shot down.
Yep, this year has been absolutely insanity when it comes to covering wrestling.
And we still have 3 more months.
Yes.
We still have 3 more months. Tina Miller, a great fan, Tina says, super chat money to Wrestling Inc. for Nick Hausman handling that scrum like a champ. Punk came after him for 0 reasons. Kudos to Nick. Nick, again, Nick did not try to instigate anything. Nick is somebody who Punk knows. Nick has worked with Punk and Colt Cabana in the past. They're all in Chicago. It's almost like Punk looked at Nick, and again, like that little thing was like, oh, Nick knows us. Nick is Chicago, and just that's my segue to unload on Punk or unload on Colt.
Yeah, even when Nick said to him, "I'm not Colt Cabana's friend," he was like, "Well, that makes 2 of us," and he still went on his rant. So it was almost like Nick almost killed his entryway into the topic, and he still managed to find a way around that.
Yeah, we probably should have called Nick. We probably should have had Nick on for this segment, so Nick could cleared his name that he was not trying to like
Poor Nick.
instigate.
Poor Nick. We love you, Nick.
All right, let's jump back in the program. So we get the tournaments, and then all of a sudden MJF comes out, Bill's jersey and all in Buffalo. He is there it's like he's Buffalo's favorite son. He's smiling, he's jogging, he's kissing babies. Gets the fans chanting AEW. He has the fans give themselves a round of applause. I mean, this is just an MJF like we've never seen before. Says he's gonna win that world title, makes a point to never ever mention CM Punk's name. It was very vague on any references to the drama and the big elephant in the room. It just looked like he's there as the baby face, and he's going to be there to take this title. And then he's interrupted by Jon Moxley, who comes to the ring, who says, "You're full of crap." And that then prompts MJF to go ahead and drop his babyface facade. He rips the Bills jersey off. Hates the audience once again. Old MJF returns. He says that world title is just a bargaining chip. So that way he can help use it as a bargaining chip. So he can go work with his buddy Cody Rhodes. So he can go work for the actual only con that matters in wrestling, in reference to Nick Khan. So he's quoting Triple H the game. So back to saying that he is Team WWE when it comes time to be. Moxley, MJF, then it looks like we're going to get some physicality. MJF slides on out. Before we get into Moxley's promo, MJF certainly, out of the big piece of news that ended Sunday, he is the one thing we knew we were going to get to see tonight. Jimmy, did MJF, what did you make of his promo? Do you agree with it? Was this the right way to use him on the heels of all this drama?
No, absolutely. I thought it was great because he was going to get cheered regardless of what he did when he first came out. So why not tease the audience, have them think, oh, we're getting a different MJF now. Here he comes with the Josh Allen jersey on, and he's really, playing the role of a babyface hugely until he gets interrupted by Jon Moxley. And then that's when we see the real MJF come out. And it worked because now he turned on the crowd, he turned on the Bills, and the crowd started to boo him. Yeah. Which is the reaction you want. And it's not hey, I love this cool heel. He's so good at, he talks so good and he's so entertaining. I got to cheer him. He got the crowd to boo him. And that's a sign of what a great heel can do.
Issa, you're wearing the scarf.
First of all, shout out to AEW with the way they played it out on Sunday for MJF, because I told you guys I didn't think it would make sense for him to just show up at the Casino Battle Royal just like that. So the way that they kept him hidden, even though you kind of knew based on the mannerisms who it was, and presenting him the way they did at the end, it was excellently executed. Not talked about enough because of all the drama that went on after, but I really thought creatively that was a perfect way to introduce MJF back into the scene. Tonight, I love this. Like, this man has range. If you didn't see it tonight, the fact that he could go and probably become the biggest face on AEW's roster right now, and then just the way that he turned it around right away, made me just realize how much I missed him on the mic for the last 3 months. I'm happy to see him back, and I think it's the perfect heel move to say, why would I put myself in a tournament when I have a ship that allows me to fight for this title anytime that I want? So why would I put myself through that physically? And while it hurts that we might not see him in the ring for a couple of weeks, I do think it's the smart choice for MJF, the character that we know. to do. And at the same time, you're just waiting. You're just waiting for it to go heel. All first 20 minutes of Dynamite today were flawless. From the announcement, the way they were done, keeping the drama aside, saying, hey, these titles are vacated and this is how we're going to handle it, to MJF cutting a babyface promo, to Moxley showing up, which we'll get into. I personally thought those first 20 minutes of Dynamite today were pretty much perfect television.
John Jordan, super chat saying Tony Khan addressing things via tape versus live. No Punk or Elite in the intro. Jericho spoiling Hangman and Danielson match in his promo. We'll get to that. Just a few things to note. Yeah, Jimmy, I think Tony Khan doing this via tape was the right thing.
Yeah.
I know some people might think it's a cop out, but I think first off, we have to think also just legally. It allows them to read off a teleprompter and get this exactly right. Wording is key right now.
Exactly.
Also, he goes out there live. The fans could overtake it, and Tony Khan's not a guy who's normally out there on a live mic, so it's not like he's a seasoned performer. So if he goes out there live, he could get chewed up if he tries to cut this promo.
My biggest fear was him going live with whatever announcement he had to make. I was like, make it short, simple, to the point, just get to it. I personally thought it being pre-tape was the best choice to make.
Absolutely, it was the best choice to make because that crowd would have just overtaken everything and dominated that whole segment. He wouldn't have been able to get a word out edgewise. So doing it that way was the smartest way to go. And it, like you said, it was quick, it was to the point, and he left out certain particulars that needed to be left out.
And there's that genius factor of you just got done listening. And Jimmy's point, because Jimmy made this point last week about how AEW sometimes doesn't give you time to process. I felt that way because we went from that announcement to NJF music hitting. You have no time to even try to take in what Tony Khan just told you because you've been waiting for this moment for months. So you're going to move right on and get into the show and pretty much forget about this pre-tape segment. So while it was done the right way, I wish I would have had a second to breathing and taking what Tony Khan had just said.
I got nothing against Tony Khan, but I will say this Sunday, my Washington Commanders take on his Jacksonville Jaguars. I hope Tony and the Jacksonville Jaguars are a little distracted with this drama so we can get a leg up on our season opener, by the way. It's all on purpose. Zach Anderson, $5 says MJF is a rock star. He feels like a return to what AEW is.
Oh yeah, you talk about money. MJF is money.
Yeah, he is it. He has it.
He has the je ne sais quoi. Lucas Davis. CM Punk is done wrestling just due to age versus value. TK needs to do more damage control. If MJF is going to be his new number one, who is number two?
The person that came right after MJF, because I thought this was the best thing that Moxley has done promo-wise. It was passionate, it was real. It felt like a real locker room leader moment for Moxley. I thought this was humongous for Moxley, and we'll get into it. But I think Moxley could be that figure that you're looking for. He showed it this summer. It was supposed to be the summer of Punk. It didn't work out. Who stepped up? Moxley. Moxley wasn't even supposed to be on tonight's episode. Who steps up again? Moxley. I think I will put a lot of my chips, half of them on MJF, half of them on Moxley, if I'm Tony Khan right now.
No, I totally sorry to interrupt you there, Justin, but I totally agree because like you said, he came out, he spoke with passion, with feeling. You felt the emotion that he had inside him. And not only that, it sounded like he took the bull by the horns. He took the reins and he said, you know what? This locker room needs some leadership. I'm your guy. I can be that guy.
That's exactly it, Jimmy. I was going to ask you to dissect the promo here because Moxley, while he's cutting this promo, again, not saying names, but it felt like his promo, and then even later Jericho's, it felt like his promo, he was meta speaking to the audience who knows the elephant in the room that we're not allowed to talk about, and that he was kind of speaking, I want the ball. I want to be the guy, unlike others who want to,
look after themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, like you said, and like I just reiterated, this was the best I've seen John, the most confident I've seen Moxley look, and you know what, he made a great case for himself tonight. And as someone who's not there to witness it, I'm now thinking, hey, maybe he is the right choice to be the guy to lead the locker room. I mean, yes, you have a guy like Chris Jericho there who could definitely be that locker room leader and should be that locker room leader, with all things considered. But at the same time, Jericho has other projects in the works and may not be there full time. So, maybe Moxley is your guy.
He is the guy. Think about it. I mean, I get that Jericho did sign on the dotted line before AEW became a thing, but who was the first person who showed up and took that leap of faith on AEW during that first pay-per-view, Double or Nothing? The person that showed up at the end of that pay-per-view is Moxley, and he's been here ever since. And I personally don't think we will have what we have, all of these people coming over, all of these big signing returns, blah blah blah, without a person like Moxley taking that leap of faith. I personally thought today he looked like a leader, like somebody that could really carry this brand. And for those first 20 minutes, again, I'll go back, I didn't think the show was perfect. It kind of fell apart after that, if I'm being honest with you guys. But for those first 20 minutes, I was like, CM Punk who? The elite who? We don't need them. Look at what these guys are doing out there, and you have to give them props because you forgot all about the drama and you really got invested into this moment.
Yeah. So real quick, let's take one final look at we had this tournament which we're gonna get a match later on. Do you obviously MJF he's got a world title match inevitably happening because he has the chip. Is it Money in the Bank style? Do you go out on Arthur Ashe with a bang with having somebody in the tournament win and then MJF right there challenging them and do you end Arthur Ashe's Grand Slam with him as champion, or do you build to the next pay-per-view, which one does that be? Full Gear November?
I think so. Yes.
Is that November or is that February? They have another. I think the next pay-per-view is in November, I believe. So,
November,
do you build a pay-per-view essentially for MJF to challenge for the world title? Is what I'm asking, Jimmy.
I wanted MJF to cash in Sunday right after CM Punk won and beat him and walk out of All Out with the title. This will be a whole different story we will be telling tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be interesting. Like kind of like Seth did at WrestleMania.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just too bad that they don't do their pay-per-views are not the day before their TV show, because then you can have that cash in like Dolph did on that Monday night after Raw or something like that. But I think build the match. Take your time. Don't rush it to TV. Take your time. Build that match. Make it feel like it's a big deal and do it on pay-per-view. Yes, I understand that right now TV is where the money is, but at the same time, you want to sell a pay-per-view. MJF's a guy you can sell a pay-per-view with against the right opponent.
Right. And we still don't know. We don't know. We didn't get many answers tonight. We don't know what the connection between MJF and Stokely Hathaway's group is, and there's story to be told, I would think.
Right.
Dylan Matthews, Action Bronson is number 2.
Okay.
All right. Andrew, worst signing, Urban Meyer or CM Punk? Of course, looking at the Jacksonville.
Wow.
Jaguar. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Punk's fighting his coworkers. Urban's
you can make an argument
lap
for
dances
either
from people that aren't his wife. I don't know. Right. I think it's all.
Oh, boy.
None of it is life goals for anybody, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Exactly.
We'll leave it at that. All right. So moving on. So yeah, a solid opening to the show, but then after that, it's kind of a mixed bag. We get the vacated trios title match here: Death Triangle versus Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. Danhausen makes an appearance in there. He throws out some curses. But ultimately, Pac from the top rope, big finish. Death Triangle, your new trios champions. Issa, do you agree? Was that your pick, or did you think Best Friends and Orange Cassidy?
It was my pick, but I feel bad for Orange Cassidy and Best Friends because they just can never win the big one. And it's just like, where do you go from here with them? They don't win when they're in singles matches. They don't win in trios. I do appreciate the fact that we just crowned a brand new champs. Like, there was no tournament. We just finished a long trios tournament for this. So I respected the fact that they were like, hey, you know what? We're just going to crown someone tonight. Made the show more interesting. Honestly, I would have put this in the main event. Me personally, I found this a lot more entertaining than the main event match. I was falling asleep throughout the main event. So I personally thought this should have been the main event. But overall, fun match.
It's like you read my mind. It's got it like, sorry, on the notes here. And not only, we'll get to it later. Another reason why I think that match should have been at the main event, but the match was exciting. Yes, you could say it was a spot fest, whatever the case may be, but that's what I was expecting in this match. What else were you expecting in this match? You know what I'm saying? When you come to the conclusion that, hey, I know what I'm going to get, let me see if I can enjoy it. And these guys worked their butts off, man. All of them were really on point tonight, and they hit all their spots. That they at times took their time selling, which is a little bit different in these matches, You know,
Yeah.
but again, very entertaining, very enjoyable. And yes, Isa, we will talk at the end during the last match why this one should have replaced that one.
Well,
Oh yeah.
to the placement of it, I mean,
There
look,
was issues with the pace of the show when you started it so hot. I had
yeah,
a lot of issues with the pacing of it. And even here, we went into this match before we even took a commercial break. There's no time to
Mhm.
process what Tony Khan announcement was. There's no time to process MJF's first promo. There's no time to process anything that Moxley just said. We should cut a sick promo.
Yeah.
This match,
Mhm.
the action started before we even took a commercial break. And while I appreciated that, it was just a lot to give us, where I feel like something that should have slowed it down should have been the first match while we process what happened so that we could really enjoy this match. But at this point, everybody's talking about everything that just went on. You're not really paying attention to it.
Right.
yeah, which is fair. And again, I do say, he had to basically probably rewrite this entire episode, and so this is entertaining. And look, they also value the first half hour more than the first half
Yeah.
hour is when you have your best audience. So maybe that was part of the motivation is let's put this up there.
I guess.
But I have pros and cons for the main event once we get to it here in a few moments.
Mhm.
We got Penelope Ford versus your interim women's champion Toni Storm. Storm's going to counter the Northern Light suplex. She's going to get the win.
Why?
Why?
Why, LaBar? Why?
The problem I have with it, which I can go on a rant about, is
Go ahead.
Well, what was it called? An eliminator title match? What was it called?
Yeah.
An unnecessary match. That's what it was called.
This is the problem I have, which I see with the other company as well, where you have champions on television having matches in non-title matches where the challenger or the person that they're facing, the non-champion, has to beat the champion in order to get a championship match. To me, that makes absolute zero sense. If you get in the ring with the title holder, that title should be on the line. Or unless it is a non-title match for a reason, not a non-title match where you have to beat the champ in order to get a shot at the champ. To me, that makes absolutely zero sense.
Go on, Isa.
Look, you did it at the pay-per-view. Where if you go back and watch All Out, they put the women after the trios match, one of the hottest matches of the night, and then you put the second women's match after the tag team title match, which was probably arguably the best match of the night. And now you did it again. You put the women after everything that I just discussed that went on. You just crown new trio champion. You just announce all of these title changes that are happening. You just had MJF, you just had Moxley. The women had to start being taken as a priority, or just like keep them off TV at this point, because it's more embarrassing to see what you're doing with them now than if you didn't even put them on the show. It's almost the same effort.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really add much more to that, so we'll move on. The Acclaimed are coming out. We all were wondering, could Max Caster have some material to rap with? But he's going to be cut off before he can do so by Swerve.
We were robbed. Say it, LaBar. We were robbed.
We were wrong. Yeah. Tony said, I don't have time to be approving no raps tonight. Swerve Strickland interrupts him. Billy Gunn fires back. We got a scissor me daddy ass. Look, this is one of those organic things. I mean, the crowd was viciously against Swerve and Our Glory winning at All Out. And it looks like these two are going to take on each other at the Grand Slam show in 2 weeks. It looks like this is the audible being called, maybe. Of the people are just organically behind the Acclaimed.
I'm absolutely behind it. That's fine. That's cool. And again, when you talk about people, whether heel or babyface, getting the desired reaction, they're getting a desired reaction right now. And boy, did Billy Gunn get a big pop. Daddy ass is getting over. That's for sure.
Jimmy, I got to give a shout out to our mutual friend, Dave Hero. Dave had a tremendous post on his social today. Dave, Dave's a long time friends also with Billy Gunn, and Dave posted Billy Gunn, twice in 25 years in his career, he's managed to get, different generations hooked on a catchphrase that's getting them suspended from school. Obviously it was suck it 25 years ago, and now it's scissor me daddy ass.
Tremendous.
So shout out to Dave. Isa, where you stand here on these tag titles? Does this need to be on the Acclaimed, or do you say let's ride the stock on Swerve and their glory?
I'm excited to see the rematch. I hope that we can create an atmosphere as organically magical as All Out felt. Like, I'm sorry, I know a lot of people are going back and forward to this, but it did feel like the right time to call an audible and just let a day one AEW tag team win the titles here. And the fact that this rematch was made in the middle of the press scrum, which was just such a hot mess that at this point Tony Khan is just looking for something, right, to give the fans at this point. But I'm excited for the rematch. I really like the Acclaim, and I'm pissed off we didn't get to see the rap. You don't realize how over these Max Caster raps are until somebody robs you of them. So I'm still angry about it.
But again, from a legal standpoint, maybe because he can't. If he goes out and raps and he doesn't mention anything about this, people are almost disappointed that he's losing his fastball.
Yeah. I saw so many tweets today of people like tweeting out what these bars could have possibly been tonight. Like there was a big expectation. So I'm with you. If he's not allowed to say anything, you might as well not even let him say anything.
Yep. Right. Take his pitch away from him. Don't even don't take his pitch away from him. Don't even let him get to the mound.
Right. Don't even let him warm up in the bullpen. I mean, like, hey,
right.
But they did do that at least, anyways. They teased it, so
they did. So it got heat on Swerve, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All right, Chris Jericho backstage. He said he's found the fountain of youth and drank it in, man. He also then proceeds to cut a promo, but seems to be a live promo. He does say next week when I take on Danielson, and that's key because Danielson has not yet took on Hangman Page. So it kind of sounds like Jericho might have spoiled it. And then later, we'll get to it later when the match is actually taking place. Commentary is really trying to cover up by trying to say, oh, Jericho's just picking Danielson. He's picking him. He's in his mind. He's already written Page off, but let's not count Page off. But fun promo. But that's certainly I saw myself notice it, and I saw the internet notice it that Jericho seemed to have spoiled this match before it even happened.
Right. No, sometimes you have what they call a brain fart. And, even some of the best talkers in the world, like Chris Jericho is one of the best talkers. He had one. What can you do? It happens to the best of us.
And again, if this show was being thrown together so last minute,
exactly,
you're kind of like, okay, I'm being told I'm doing a tournament now. I'm fighting Bryan next week. Maybe you don't even realize that Bryan hasn't had his match yet before you had the promo. So it's just kind of like,
and you never know. Maybe Jericho thought that this interview was being taped for after the match. You never know. Like,
all kinds of things here. Bear Hudson super chat says this week has been hard on me.
Oh yes,
but you guys have both made this week easier for me. Thank you all for being my light in the midst of darkness. I love you all. Well, thank you, Bear.
Thank you,
we love you too, Bear Hudson.
Yeah, man, we're thinking of you, buddy. You're in our prayers.
All right, always happy if we can do some positive positive vibes. All right, my boy TNT champion Wardlow out to the ring to take on Tony Nese. This one is straightforward. It is 3 power bombs. Clock out Tony Nese.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, Wardlow cuts a promo. He just basically reminds everybody this is Wardlow's world. Look, obviously you're in the midst now of crowning a new world champion again with the tournament again. But let's not forget you have your next then highest ranking singles title for the male, which is TNT title, and a guy who is over like Rover. Let's start putting this is a guy who was hot as hell at the start of the summer, and then we get to All Out and he's in a 6-man tag teaming with FTR going up again. Let's utilize him.
Yeah.
Jimmy, let's utilize him.
Absolutely utilize him. This is a guy, like you said, is hugely over and organically over with the audience. They love this guy.
Yep.
They want to have a reason to cheer him because they like him. So give him a reason instead of getting him, I don't want to say lost in the shuffle in a 6-man tag, which kind of what it felt like to me. I get it. But he needs to be a solo act, so to speak. Yeah. Obviously he can have friends, guys that he can count on if needed, but at the same time, he's a monster. He should be able to take care of people by himself as well.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons to cheer for Wardlow. However, I'm here for the rebuild of the TNT title, for the rebuild of his reign. He's moved on from MJF. MJF is interested in something else. I need this title to be defended on pay-per-view, on these TV specials. I seen Wardlow for 3 years almost being part of a faction. I want to see him stand alone and stand strong. So I'm excited for possibly the rebuild of Wardlow by himself.
All right, wild card round match: Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page. This one they gave it
Also, something that could have been the main event outside of what actually was the main event. But
well, we got to give that ROH brand its time. Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page, given almost a half hour here. Finally, I mean, so much in this match. Go check this out. Hard hitting. I mean, just so much here.
Solid, absolutely solid.
Right, it really was.
Great story. All of the above. You know, it checked all the boxes. You know, anyway.
No, checked all the boxes. I was going to get the finish, and Jimmy keep going. Bryan basically he ducks the buckshot lariat and basically counters that into basically an O'Connor roll up. Which, you know, this is and I love this, and I want to give props to whoever, Bryan, Page, Tony Khan, whoever the agent was. I love WWE used to do a lot of this in the early 90s. I love when you have two guys who are baby faces to the crowd, you have no plans of really turning them. You give them a hard fought match, and I love it was just a matter of 3 seconds. You know, Davey and Brett, SummerSlam '92. You know, it was just a quick who could just get that shoulders down. Brett Piper, Mania 8. Sleeper, Piper's got the sleeper. Brett just kicks his feet up, is able to just propel his weight back and pin Roddy's shoulders. O'Connor roll. I love just quick. Nobody knocked the other one out. Nobody made the other one tap. It was just a matter of we fought so hard. We went tit for tat, and I just got you for 3 seconds. I love it.
Two good professional wrestlers being good at their jobs.
Absolutely. Yeah, like you guys said, it was solid. It was great. At times, you saw some people might think that the crowd was a little at times quiet for this, but I think they were just very attentive to the match and didn't want to. They were more interested in watching the match as opposed to trying to get the cheer in, so to speak.
So Danielson versus Jericho next week in the semis. Winner goes to the finals. Right. Who do you guys got?
I would like to say Bryan Danielson.
Knowing MJF is lurking around.
Right.
Bryan.
Yeah. If it wasn't for MJF lurking around, I would say Chris Jericho. But I agree. I think Bryan Danielson.
I was going back and forth. I was doing a watch along cheap plug on my YouTube channel, and I went back and forward with this because I feel like, okay, if the goal is to have MJF cash in as soon as we crown this brand new champ and have MJF become the new AEW World Champ, then I don't want to see somebody like a Moxley have a reign that's gonna end in a day like what happened with this last one, right? So at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, do I want somebody to move on in the finals to be somebody that I wouldn't mind seeing taking a quick pin like this? If that's the case, then I will say Jericho, because I don't feel like Jericho will be hurt from losing, especially when he has such a long feud with MJF. In ring wrestling wise, I think it will be because they're both part of the Black Combat Club and all that. I think seeing Moxley and Bryan at the end would be interesting, but I love this match, and it could have, again, I would have put the trios title just because you crown new champs, but if that wasn't my main choice for main event, this would have fallen second. What they put as the closing match was a big fail for me in the way that the show paced. I personally thought this could have main event, that these men have history. Remember, they went on for 60 minutes on an episode of Dynamite, and neither one of them got the win. This isn't a first time throwaway match. They have history, and they killed it tonight. And only a few people in professional wrestling can make you look bad, like can make you look good in defeat. And Bryan is one of those people where I feel like, okay, Hangman is a former world AEW champ, and I don't think he looked any worse from losing to Bryan here. I loved it.
Jimmy, am I reaching here? I didn't actually reference this earlier, and I should. So Jericho, as we kind of focused on, maybe spoiled that Danielson was going to win, but in his promo, he really had some conviction. He even screamed as his closing tag, "This is my locker room, and nobody's going to take it away from me."
Right.
So on the same line with Moxley, of you're not allowed to say certain people's names tonight, but the crowd is going to read between some lines.
Yes.
Yep.
So Jericho's saying that. If you're Tony Khan, and if you're trying to restore your locker room, if you're trying to like just get this ship back in straight, do you put the title on a guy like Jericho? Even though it's not this first time, do you do something like that just to reset things and say, just to try to get the balance of power back in the right order?
You can absolutely do that, and it would work. because Jericho is just that damn good. And it may be a good direction to go in. Maybe he is the guy to kind of settle things down in that locker room and make it his locker room. Like I've told you, you know, Justin, when I was on SmackDown, Undertaker was our locker room leader, and he was not our leader because he chose to be the leader. The locker room chose him. And I think Jericho is the kind of guy that the locker room would choose as their leader, and they would listen to him and they would get behind him and accept the advice, whatever it is he has to give, because anybody who doesn't take Jericho's advice needs to be re-examined. Let's put it that way. So having someone like a Jericho in that position would be a great, I hate to use the term reset, but reset is a good.
Jericho should bring in Wrestler's Court.
Yes, he should, and he could be the judge.
Call Undertaker and say, "Hey, what's your hourly freelance rate to be a judge?"
Exactly.
Meet us at the hotel.
Yeah.
If you think about it, according to the rumors and the things that we know, when Jericho came into that press conference, everything that was going on backstage had already fallen apart. And the way that man just calmly spoke to the press, like knowing that it was a mayhem backstage, and he still went on and did his thing. Props to him. He's a veteran. He's the voice of experience in that locker room. Yes.
Yeah, I mean the guy. Look, he came up through chaotic times in WCW. I mean he's a guy it's been documented. He got in the face and got a little hubbub with Brock Lesnar. I mean, Jericho's not afraid of. He's going to stand up for himself. He's going to stand up for his locker room, so to speak. So.
Imagine being Sting, though. Like, didn't Sting see this with WCW and then he saw it with TNA? He's probably sitting backstage at AEW like, not again, please.
Yeah.
I don't think Sting drinks anymore, but if he did, I could just see him down the hall sitting
wishing.
He's just sitting on an equipment box, just taking a sip.
Him and William Regal just sharing
Yeah.
shots with each other. Like, what did we get ourselves into?
He's taking a drag and he's just going, these fucking kids.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I was thinking about. It's like there's a lot of veterans in this AEW locker room that are probably looking around going like, Dustin Rhodes, like, what are we doing here? Like, what is happening? I'm too old for this.
All right, up next, Stokely Hathaway. He starts. He's got his entourage out at the on the stage. W. Morrissey, the Gun Boys, Lee Moriarty, Ethan Page. Just as Stokely's starting to cut his promo, he's getting interrupted by a stagehand, basically saying we're out of time. They proceed to beat up the stagehand. So just a little bit of kind of just a way to highlight and feature this faction that Stokely Hathaway is putting together. And I said it earlier, and I say it again. Is there a piece of the puzzle that needs to bridge them with MJF based upon what we saw that all out? So, Issa, what did you make of this segment? It was pretty quick, but obviously they have a plan here with Stokely and his entourage.
I'm going to keep it very real with you, LaBar. I could not focus on this because the way of Morrison's hair was, like, it was weird. He had like a weird side come over and I couldn't stop staring at it. So I have no idea what.
Jimmy, you're like me. You hardly have any hair. What were you focusing on?
No, me, it just, like you said, it was quick and to me didn't do anything to enhance the group. Yes, there is probably a plan for this group. They wanted to get them on television in any form, fashion possible. And that just felt like that's how it felt to me. It felt like
they just need. I wish they would have given us a reason, or come out with MJF, or why do you participate in this? That's what, and we didn't get that, so I wasn't invested or interested.
Again, I think we will, but again, they're rewriting this whole show. I think that they're trying to get through Arthur Ashe, and then we'll start more long-term storytelling after that.
And hit that.
He could at least came out and said, "I sold my soul to the devil." Like, at least say that, like something.
I wonder how much it cost them to play the Rolling Stone song at All Out.
Too much money.
I don't even want to know.
That's probably why CM Punk was so mad at that press conference, because that probably got taken out of his bonus or something.
Well, yeah, how can he be mad? They pay whatever they got to pay to Living Color for Cult of Personality. I mean,
I doubt that the rate is the same as a one-time Rolling Stones song.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
BDE for MJF to come back with that song.
Was pretty cool.
I will say one thing. I love the way that this was executed. I didn't like the voicemail. Like, and maybe it's because we had the press conference to fall back into, but just to hear Tony Khan just begging MJF to come back after MJF just completely trashed him on television, it just makes you question his leadership skills. So I wish it would have been more like, if you don't come back by All Out, these are going to be the consequences kind of voicemail instead of what we did get.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agree.
Fair.
It made him look like a weak owner.
Yeah, but honestly, if MJF walked out of my life, I would leave him a voice note begging to, and I never do that. So
that's all fair. Yeah, it's funny. We get the voicemail as part of storyline, and then an hour later, he's got actual talent, fighting each other. So, all right, main event time. It's the Ring of Honor Pure title. I don't get it. I don't, and I like. Actually, I'm gonna say this. I'll say positive here in a second. I enjoyed what I saw and what it is, and there's different rules. But I agree to the point of, this is AEW Dynamite. Why do we insist on putting your secondary little brother brand that you bought, your other sandbox to play in? Why does that have to be your main event? I don't get it. Now I guess the counter to this, Jimmy, is Daniel Garcia is challenging for this title. He's the hometown guy, and that did work in the sense of the hometown crowd made it sound like it was a big deal. I gotta give them that. They made it sound like it was. Well, no. It's not a whoop-de-doo. If the crowd would have been on their hands, different. But the crowd made it seem like this was the Daniel Garcia is the biggest thing in Buffalo since Josh Allen. So I'm kind of torn here.
No, I get that, but he's a hometown guy. He's going to get that reaction regardless. It doesn't matter. The stuff they did afterwards with Bryan, there we go again. Bryan Danielson coming out and putting the title belt on Garcia meant a lot more to me. But at the same time, like you said, a couple of things here. Your ROH title is main eventing on your AEW show when you have AEW titles being defended on the show. That just makes them feel beneath the secondary brand. I don't even know how to explain it properly. And at the same time, you have a match here. It's the Pure Championship under Pure rules, where rules are enforced, when the rest of the show rules don't seem to be as important.
I was going to get to that with you. So again, for the Pure title, you only get 3 rope breaks, closed fists or a warning.
You get 2 warnings.
What else do we have? DQ, title can change hands on DQ.
They have judges.
There's judges. And I was going to ask you, I'm all for trying to make something different. It's hard to come up with anything that's different anymore in wrestling. Everything's pretty much borrowed or stolen. But to your point, it is a very contradictory,
presentation of a match that they don't do on their.
It's an ROH title. They have an ROH ring announcer. They have somebody who they never even put on camera, but a new voice, voice of God, ROH commentator that's on this commentary desk. But yet it's still an AEW referee. That doesn't make any sense. If you have new rules and this is a different promotion, shouldn't the referee have different? Shouldn't they have different?
At least I will say this: Paul Turner is a former ROH referee, so they had the right referee, the right AEW referee in the ring for this. But at the same time, like you said, having that type of match in that setting just didn't work for me. I don't know. You could tell that the crowd wanted to get into it, but it was a little too different than what they wanted, I think.
Issa, I challenge you to a wrestling podcasting Pure title. No close.
I will never be able to win a purity belt. That's what I call this thing. I don't even know what it is. It's a purity belt. It's not my style. I will never be able to win it.
Can you wear white on your wedding day, young lady?
No, I will never get married, so that's not an issue here. Anyway, the 2 less street people in all of AEW come out with a rapper. Like, I don't even know which one came out with the rapper, but it was just like, yeah, this ain't it. First of all. Second of all, it was like the match was great. These 2 guys are so talented in skill, like in ring skill availability, but the lack of charisma if you're not invested in this, it will put you to sleep. I'm sorry. It was just not it. And in a show that was so full of so many moments, so many highs, so many good matches, not saying that this wasn't good. I'm saying it wasn't my top choice for main event. And maybe, like you said, they were trying to keep the crowd hot while it was going because you do have the best ratings. Everybody was going to tune in at 8 p.m. and see what was going down.
Yeah.
But it felt like there was a lot of things that felt bigger than this. I hate to even say it this way. This could have been on Rampage. Okay. And that's probably the worst compliment that you can give someone in AEW television. This could have been on Rampage. Overall, great. Daniel Garcia got his moment. The Bryan came out and like put the title, like the chastity belt around his waist. Good stuff. Let's go.
Right.
Like, they killed my bus. I was drunk. They killed half of my bus.
No.
What were you drinking? Hang on, Jimmy. What were you
I was
drinking?
drinking Bacardi. I was drinking shots of Bacardi.
Jesus, calm down.
Wow.
Listen, it's been a long weekend, okay?
There you go. Tremendous.
Cheers.
No,
I at least put a mixer with my liquor. Jesus.
Yeah, a little bit of.
I have passion fruit juice, but I mean, straight up shots are a lot more fun, especially when you're watching these two go for the purity belt.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I almost went down to get my Ouzo.
I was gonna say, Jimmy,
but held back.
Jimmy, don't tell me you're drinking coffee during this whole thing.
Yeah. I saved those for the rants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy. ROH Pure title main event. I mean, overall,
it's not that it was a bad match, but you know what I mean. It just didn't fit in with the rest of the show. And again, you're having an ROH title main eventing an AEW show, and yes, I get it. The owner is the same as it's the same guy, but at the same time, that's like having let's say an NXT match main event Raw one weekend.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It wouldn't fly.
Yeah. I agree to the point of good for you that you own ROH too. Now they need to find some. Designate that there is a 15 minutes of every Rampage it's ROH or ROH show.
And I get why some people will enjoy it. I'm the proud president of the Big Meaty Men Slapping Meat Association, and this was far from that. So if you ask me about what my favorite match
this was pigs in a blanket slapping meat. This was not.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I get that this isn't for everyone, and I'm not one of those people, right? But they were great in the ring. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
For main event, in the middle of the show, yes, I would have not minded. There was just so many matches that had so many more things at stake that felt bigger than this one.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I go back to, I wonder, he's on a 2-day deadline to rewrite a show. Are you just looking for, Paige and Danielson filled a half hour. MJF and Moxley occupied 15. Like, are you just in the struggle you are to handle? Are you just looking for things that reliably can just fill time?
But you have to think too. What do you put in that last spot? Yes, we know that people are going to tune in at 8 o'clock, and I think they did a great job with how they started off the show, and they had some had some good matches during the show. But you also got to think, what match can I keep people to stick around for? And when you're advertising that this is the match that's going to main event the show, you may have people who have tuned in because of what they've heard over the weekend going, wait a minute, ROH Pure title is main event of the what? And you may actually do the reverse.
Well, and
if I wasn't covering it, I wouldn't know. Stay tuned for this. If I'm being honest with you.
Agreed. No, I'll say that too. 9:45 came around, and I said to myself, I was like, and again, it's not nothing against Garcia or Wheeler, but I was like, if I wasn't doing the podcast, then I probably I would have let it happen, and I would have gone on social and found some clips or whatever. Yeah, I agree. It's not a knock on them; it's just a knock on, I guess, the context of everything.
But look at Monday Night Raw. Like, they put Bobby Lashley and The Miz in the main event. Like, they're not like I feel like there's a lot of good matches on, but they're still putting whatever the biggest the biggest thing at stake is at the end of the show, even if you're making people stay 3 hours until 10:45 at night. And I feel like even though you own Ring of Honor, crowning new trios champ or moving on this world title tournament is the talk of the town right now, and that should have been in the main event spot.
Right.
Yeah. It's a wild time right now in pro wrestling.
Everything is crazy. Honestly.
AEW is crazy. WWE's got new. We didn't even have it as a news story, but real quick, WWE only down 3% this week for the Raw viewership. That's pretty big because it was Labor Day. They actually pretty strong, all things considered. Better.
How happy are you that Braun Strowman is back? Because as soon as I saw him come back, I thought about you, and I was like, God, why am I thinking about? I remember you telling me at that Raw after Mania 33 that Braun was the guy, and me telling you, no, he's not, and me being right.
Issa and I almost came to like. Issa and I almost reenacted the Punk versus EVP's scenario several times.
Our friendship almost ended over
several
Beastie
times
versus
in
Braun.
Brooklyn. Several times in Brooklyn after Braun and Brock.
And I like to say I was right. You can admit it too, Justin LaBar. It's okay. You can say it.
Well, no, you weren't right. You just had the benefit of being on the side of what the booking committee was doing, what Vince was doing. You're not right. I mean, but
No, I was right. Braun never beat Brock. Like that was the whole argument. Come on, it's been years, Justin LaBar.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, there you go.
You can come to accept it. You're a grown man now. You have kids and everything. It's time that you admit this. Okay.
I have kids. I want to set a good example. I don't want to give in to bullies like you that are trying to tell me, they're trying to bully me into my into.
Bully. I might punch you next time I see you, but I'm not a bully.
Oh my goodness!
Be a star. All right.
Well, on that violent note,
LaBar knows he'll buy me a drink and I'll be over it real quick.
well, at least we know what to get now, Bacardi.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Issa. Cheap plug away.
Hey, you guys can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am so close to 20,000 subscribers. It's crazy. NYC Demon Diva on YouTube. You guys can find me
20,000.
20,000. I know.
Wow.
You guys can find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm slowly taking over Wrestling Inc. They don't even realize it, but I'm slowly taking over.
All right, calm down, CM Punk. You're going to punk this entire network here. Jimmy, go ahead.
Well, you can find me here on Wednesday nights with both Issa and Justin, and you can catch me on Monday nights with Triple J, myself, Justin, and Jack Farmer, where we cover and review Raw and whatever the news is of the day. And also you can catch me weekdays in the mornings, sipping my coffee and doing my infamous reffing rants, where I just critique something and have a little fun with it. It's meant to be fun. That's all it is. And that's what wrestling is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun and enjoyed. And if you want a Ref and Rant t-shirt, you can get it at ProWrestlingTees.com.
Have you ever considered letting the Ref and Rants be longer than a minute? I feel like a minute's just like,
like you can't.
I mean, look, I know what it's like in life. I mean, I've tried to sell people all in my entire life that a minute's longer than what it is. But I feel like sometimes with Jimmy, I feel like sometimes I want it to be more. Like, I mean,
there are times where I want to keep going and
hey, what are you talking about? Oh, the race.
Maybe yes. Maybe there's another venue where I could. Let me think about this.
I think so. All right. Well, he's ref and ranting for 60 seconds a day. I'm here on Mondays, Wednesdays, like you said. I'm back now with Busted Open every week. Friday, 10:30. Spar with LaBar, myself, Dave LaGreca, Thunder Rosa every single Friday. So I'll be there 10:30 a.m. live on SiriusXM. If you want to tune in to Busted Open, or you can check it out after the fact on demand or on the podcast. Yes, Spar with LaBar.
I've been sparring with LaBar over Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar for years now. So.
And I'm gonna finally get my knockout punch. I finally have a feeling Braun is back. He is gonna get his. He's gonna avenge my battle with you. I'm sliding into his DMs right now, and I'm gonna say that there's a mission. We have a mission.
Just remember, both of you, I still do have my referee shirts. So.
Hey, we have a ref. Justin, let's book it. Let's book it.
That's fine. Let's book it. That's a great Mania weekend attraction.
It is.
Book it. That's fine. All good here. Yes. All good here. I mean, I'll do what I got to do to get Korderas to be my personal Hebner, and I'll make this happen.
I don't think so. I will bring him coffee from Puerto Rico. I will handpick this coffee beans myself just to buy him off. Okay, I got this.
Kayfabe, you said kayfabe.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said that out loud. My bad.
Tremendous.
I can't compete with you buying him coffee.
Why you can't? They don't have the coffee beans there in the burger.
No, I took you to I
Not
took you
like
like
Puerto
I took you
Rico
to one.
ones.
I took you and your wife to a wonderful diner here, but I think you enjoy coffee more than dinner in the diner.
No, the dinner in the diner was good too. Trust me.
All right, that's gonna do it. Thanks everybody. What a lit super chat, lit chat room this has been tonight. Thank you very much. Again, if you're listening after the fact, you know the rules. Tweet all of us. Tell us where in the world you are. How are you listening? What are you doing? Love to hear it. I try to retweet as many as possible as long as they're appropriate. Again, I'm Friday morning on SiriusXM. He's every day doing his ref and rant. She's doing her reactions to all things in the wrestling world. Stick with Wrestling Inc. At this point in time, news is constantly breaking. You don't want to miss a thing because if you do miss a thing, you're going to be very out of the loop. So WrestlingInc.com, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Thank you. Tweet, follow, tell us where you're enjoying the podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Oh, these are fun times.